At the top of the program this morning, I told you about the bill, which is right now on the floor of the Senate, which proposes, of course, an agency that will help aid the rehabilitation and reintegration of repentant Boko Haram fighters or insurgents, if you like. Focal point of our conversation on TMI this Monday. We want to look at first the thrust of this bill, which we hear has passed the first reading. And of course, those who are sponsoring, particularly Senator Gayidam from Yobe State, is hoping that he scales the way through, all the way through, that is, so it becomes an act overall. But then again, I address a concern as to many things. First, the basis on which a repentant Boko Haram fighter is determined. And then, of course, you have those who also argue that Boko Haram has left so much of evil, so much of death, anguish in its wake. And then you have people who are now trapped in IDP camps, especially scattered across the northern part of the country. So some folks are saying, why don't we pay more attention to those people? What stops us from, as it were, plowing resources into rehabilitating those people, re-empowering them in such a way that their life essentially can be turned to normal. Let's give my guests on the program this morning a handle on this discussion so they can help us make sense of it all. First, from my far left, I have Dr. Patrick Awosai, legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
And next to him is Barrister Cosmas Irabo, also, of course, a legal practitioner and a politician. We appreciate you on the program this morning. And I have Christopher Jacobi. He's the program director for Foundation for Growth, Governance and Social Change, as well as a very brilliant public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming. To begin with Chris, this morning, a few weeks ago, you and I talked about Boko Haram and generally insecurity in this country. But it's a what some persons have referred to as a burgeoning problem. All right. Third, there's a history to Boko Haram issue in this country. 10 years ago, nobody imagined Boko Haram would become this big problem that it has turned out to be now.
The best it has turned out to be. Become a government. Let me say something. This has become an umbrella for many, and I say many, terrorist groups. I'm not even sure the Nigerian security apparatus can profile the number of terrorist groups we have in Nigeria. So Boko Haram has become the umbrella word for describing activities of many terrorist groups. The herders and terrorists who attack our women in the farm and rape them and kill them have a very different agenda from those who say Western education is evil. Those who go to the president's own hometown and commit all sorts of atrocities are very different from others who are operating within the city metropolis with certain agendas. So what has happened was that Boko Haram, as a concept of terror to achieving some devilish ideology, unchecked by successive governments, had broken up into many terrorist groups, which the government itself cannot account for their numbers nor their manner of operation. The ravages it is causing, or they are causing, to the Nigerian nation, to the Nigerian citizens, are unprecedented in proportion, they are unprecedented in degree, they are unprecedented in regularity as we find them this day. As I said, and I repeat, the Nigerian security forces cannot keep tabs with what is going on. I'll give you a small example of what happened only very recently in Uweli. A village in Uweli North community was attacked and about 10 to 15 persons were brutally killed. The village had cried out to security forces around the village, a joint security force led by a military officer, and they went and were able to trace the Fulani herders terrorists to the bush where they were feeding their cattle. They thought it was a matter of going to engage them. And you know what they went there to do? To recover the dead bodies. They did not only kill the dead bodies, they took them along with them. By the time they came closer, the Fulani leader, the terrorist leader, came out and challenged the military man and ordered him not to take 5 steps beyond where he was standing. If he did, then we were going to bring down this thing he came with. The man had to put up his hands. The Nigerian military officer had to put up his hands.
Do we have an eyewitness account of that incident?
That's all over the news. I'm quoting Vanguard. I'm not quoting social media. I'm quoting the national newspaper. It's a recent issue. By the time they went back to the Air Force and came back with about 10 more military men and the other group of security apparatus that they were together with, the Fulani men had separated into the bush also decided in Delta State. So what is happening is terrible and horrific. It has a cataclysmic dimension. And I'm showing you now that in Warri Central, where the Fulani sell their cattle, if you go there to buy a cow, the Fulani boys there will require you to pay development money to the Fulani owners of that land before you take out the cow from that. Warri Central, that cattle market in Warri. They are buying land in the south, and our greedy chiefs are selling land to them. They're establishing their camps and establishing their ranches everywhere. In those states here, the population of these people, at the blast of a whistle, can overrun us. At the blast of a whistle. These people will get after and tell you we were all armed with AK-47. So it has gone out of proportion, out of control. And now, if you tie that down to what Jordan, the former Yobe governor, now senator, was saying, yes, that we should create an agency, and as he said, it has passed first reading, for the rehabilitation of so-called terrorists. First of all, the question to ask is, who profiles these terrorists? Who knows whether they are repentant or not? Who knows, first of all, who are terrorists? But the Nigerian security apparatus have intelligent reports to be able to know. If they know, then why the terrorists operating so freely and we are not able to apprehend them before they carry out their dastardly acts. After they have carried out their acts and we say we have captured them, did you take any profile of them? How do we know that the terrorists will release the 1,400 the president released 2 days ago and not back in the terrorist camp?
Let me allow you for a minute and then talk to Cosmos about this whole thing. There are people who also want to blame politicians for the evolution, so to speak, of Boko Haram sect, because they feel at the point the war against insurgency was politicized. Do you share that sentiment?
Well, there's politics in everything,
including in counter-insurgency.
Yes, like we were taught, it's even in our pockets. There's politics. As it also said, every man by nature is a political animal. But the fact is, yes, we know there's politics. And if you want to trace the origin of this Boko Haram, so to say, so people trace it to a certain former government. But since I don't have facts at my disposal, I wouldn't want to really go that. Like my brother rightly said, those people who call themselves Boko Haram, the question we ask ourselves, what do they say they want? Why are they doing what they are doing? Because I tell you, Western education is evil. He's putting on shirts. So they use glasses, they use handsets, they carry AK-47. All these are products of Western education, which they do very well. They think they talk Western education. So if you say the whole thing, you say that should not that is not the agenda. But there's more to it. They want to say Western education so that you can hardly being a victim to them. Now, when you say terrorism, what somebody a terror, what do you do that will make you a terror? You kill. Carries capital punishment.
Right.
It's murder. You is either life imprisonment or can't even capital punishment. You kidnap animals. So the man that has done all these things, so what I did it, nothing will happen. No, the man, it is not the man and
The man, you not say, I have not discovered that he's repentant. Everybody arrested for the repentance. You not say he's repentant. And not started to say you are setting him free when he has committed all these atrocities. Look at the one you just watched, or the one you just heard. Adults and women, people, of course, Satan, so to say, they need to try to but they threw the ball into the fire. To this country will come to its repentance and tell you to go. They want to establish a deal, you get it, and then we give them. What are they trying to say? That people now go to you, come out and say, I'm repentant, you give the person money. So the whole thing has become an issue, like I was saying, is leading Nigeria to its regressive infinity. They know that those who are doing question, how come 10 years plus you have the DSS? If you train these people, get it and you're supposed to fight. Those are as you see there. But they never do it. Someone says something, they say, about that information. And they say, intel that they are it is what you're doing. It's giving results. Something positive. Okay. You get information. It's not quite easily slow. Go. What will happen? Just close to what my brother just said. Even you want to edit it. Somebody was murdered. He went to the police. He went somewhere around there. They went. In the process, they opened fire. And he was shot on the bicep. And the soldier was shot 3 times. And they recorded on the newscast. And the police left him. He was there for 3 days. Why did they leave him? They said they got to come back so that and kill more casualty criminals. He was there for 3 days. The 3rd day, when they couldn't stand it, they went there and then he was recovered. He was still alive. He told me one things that transpired. And I looked myself and I laughed. He later died, unfortunately, in the hospital. I looked myself and I laughed. So criminals have not gotten to the level where police will be afraid of them. Okay, let's assume they on a stand. Now that they are now aware, why not go there instantly? You know, those people touch. You see nothing is happening. You see, because something is coming from the top. People are they want you to question the thought that we've had a number of chances to have been able to run circles, as it were, around these Boko Haram fighters. But we have bungled all of those chances. It is very great. Let Abacha say something. He said he said it's not so more than 24 hours, the government had his hand in it. The times have changed between when Abacha was head of state. That didn't change. It is the people. If you want to change it, you change it. Can this happen in America? It cannot. That's the only way you can attack America. Somebody or somebody attack and say you say world meetings and all. Well, infiltrate it. They will pick you out. Nigerians can do it. Nigerians want to Liberia, so the Nigerian soldiers want to they perform essentially well. Nigerians go outside, they perform essentially well. But somewhere you want to do something, somebody will tell you, my friend, stay on that thing, or you will have yourself to do it. Okay, now this is one that got killed now. Today, have been able to get any money from the police on that. This man, you think if they call him for such operation, he will go? You tell you he has a pain on his leg, his stomach is. Because it's like you're just going to commit suicide. And again, they're not shot. If they are taking that day, he was thinking alive today. For 3 days, and eventually he died. I went to see him in the hospital. It was my problem. That's why that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, the government of today are starting to be quoted. They know what they're doing. And that's you know that majority of people and different groups, like he's saying, they're not Nigerians. America today is trying to restrain Nigerians from entering their country. It is not just this government, this system. Okay, when you say you don't want people to come, I mean, you are blocked because of the insurgents, because of the economy or whatever reason you are giving. You are not saying these people should come in. At the point of entry, you give them visa, and you are giving them visa. You are in your domain. Somebody in your domain, and somebody is far away. Which one can attack you? They come in by the day, with all request, with all ease. And they are getting people, like the Prophet said, they are everywhere. My village, they kill 3 people. They go freely. And when they say, let us do this, let us do that. I mean, unfortunately, it's unfortunate. Okay, it's laughable. There's no sense to continue.
We can't be sure whether government is aligning, but we've also heard arguments that government could have done more along the line of counter-insurgency. But let me talk to Patrick now. Senator Ibrahim Gaida, who of course is a senator representing a district in Yobe State. Incidentally, again, Yobe is one of the 3 most hardest hit states as far as insurgency is concerned in the northern part of the country. Is the one sponsoring this bill to say, let's establish an agency to cater to, well, ex-fighters who will now find repentance. On what basis do we judge whether someone has been repentant or not? That's number one. And number two, going forward, does this seem sustainable?
Thank you very much. It's rather unfortunate, and very, very unfortunate that a senator will come up with such thoughts could have even got.
There's something that says he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches.
No, I'm still talking. So for a senator, yes, he wears the shoes and he knows where it's pinching him. And that's a just to say because of personal, I would say, he's have interest in the so-called repentant Boko Haram folks that is agitating for trying to push these to ensuring they are integrated back to society. But I consider that a total misnomer. It's out of place. It shouldn't be what to be deliberated on, because if you look at, it's only in Nigeria you hear things like that. When we are talking about terrorism, terrorists, just like Al-Qaeda and all others, Boko Haram is nothing less than that. And I had an imam in Australia making comments about Nigeria being a heaven for, what do you call them, terrorists. He said so. He said so. It's homecoming. Homecoming for terrorists. Any terrorists all over the world. When Azazaki was having his issue, you saw, and when money was hit in Iran, it was Nigeria that took it up and said, no, our brother has been blown down by the American people. And Nigerians are also complaining again why America is restraining us from coming into their country, because we have been tagged the terrorist country. That's the truth. We saw we saw Murtala the other time years ago when Obama was president, and so many other issues. Now the point I'm making now is for a senator to sit up and be thinking of the thought of it is what I'm trying to ask myself: how did we get here? People have been killed from that same region, which you represent, and their parents have been killed. Some have been Muslims, Christians, whatever. One group of people have been killed, and now a lot of them are scattered around the country. You have not thought of how to bring them back together.
That's those who are internally displaced.
Yes. How to, and for those that have lost their parents, how to get them back, and we need to reinstate and rehabilitate these people so that they will not feel the sense of neglect. And that is what I think a lawmaking agency or body or person should be thinking about. Now you're talking of people that you say repentant. How do you know who is repentant? They are out there, they are still there, and many other atrocities being perpetrated. The other day it was casino and throwing babies into fire, and we are talking about being repentant. Now, if we are holding onto them to extracting information from them, I believe it's like we're in the jungle. I'm sorry, with all respect, it's like we don't know what's happening. When you have intelligence, and what are the intelligence doing? What's DSS doing? We don't even have information, we just know that they blow up a place. How did it happen? Everybody is called to question, and now we are making it look like we don't know what is happening. If you don't know what is happening, just bring down and resign and leave. It is unfortunate, because what happened with the lives of people? I could have been killed too. The other time I was on my way from Ibadan court, and I was intercepted by these miscreants on the road. If not that I summoned up courts to drive me, because they would have gone me down in the vehicle. And then you will now say, oh, we shouldn't retaliate. And I hear comments like, we should not, we should treat the terrorists with care. Or those Boko Haram, we should not attack them, counter-attack them from presidency and all that. Like the price of, you shouldn't. Why would you say that? Then if you don't want that, then we should be able to put up proper structures. Now what are we doing? What are we doing? We're just talking. The inheritance, they are everywhere in the farmlands. Now, where you so desire to graze is somebody's farm. It's not that you are a perpetual trouble-seeking person. Now, the other day it was, we were looking at road estimates. It was the federal that was championing this again. Now, the question is, so when you see the government that should be at the end of trying to ensure that the lives and properties are being secured and safe, you are not talking about settling them. The people that have never been together, we keep talking
about way back in the 70s, way back in the dateless time, we have lived together as one. That was when we knew that some persons are not more Nigerians than others. Because as it stands today, some Nigerians are more Nigerians than others. And that's what led to the agitation of the IPOB. And we are talking of the Amotekuns, and we are talking of the Ododuwa people, and we are talking of all manner of groups are now trying to express themselves. Because the center is gradually no longer holding as it stands. General Achebe wrote a book. He said there was a country, and we criticized him for it. And Obasanjo said, no, that book, we shouldn't talk about it. He was trying to let you know, he said there was a country. Now, he didn't say Nigeria is totally out. Now, we need to put certain things on ground. I need to go to, if I can go to Kano and get the same justice I will get in Benin City. If I can go to Abuja, go everywhere without making recourse to the fact that I'm not from that region. That is what makes us one. So if we claim to be one, are we one in the way these are just comments. And now, if you look at it now, we keep hearing now like, okay, he said now, repentant Boko Haram, we need to rehabilitate. You are not more concerned about the Boko Haram. How about those that have been killed? How about their children? How do you rehabilitate them? They are scattered here and they are begging on the streets, seeking help from ordinary individuals that have nothing to really offer them. And now today, you are talking of repentant Boko Haram. How about those that were minding their businesses? They were law-abiding citizens. They came to their community, they killed their parents, and the children are everywhere. You don't care about them. Those that perpetrated the killing. He said the casualties are not those that are
So you're saying this priority is misplaced? Is that
it's misplaced, absolutely.
Okay.
He said the casualties in literature are not those that are living and feeling the pain. Do you know what it means to sit back and reflect that your mother, your father was murdered, was killed, was gunned down by some folks, and now you heard that the same government is rehabilitating them through some funny bills.
Okay, there's a distinction being drawn here, Chris. I mean, he has just established a very salient point. There's a distinction being drawn between those who were, as it were, caught in combat and those who were conscripted into the fight. And then, of course, there's need to de-radicalize them. We also heard other governments away from Nigeria talk about the radicalization process. It's a possibility, isn't it?
It's a possibility where you have proper profiling.
Okay, so you're saying we don't have that?
We don't have proper profiling of those who we call Boko Haram.
Okay.
We don't have the mechanism and the competence, the intel to be able to identify and profile them. I'll give you the reason. My own thinking of why Gedam is thinking of setting up an agency. The sentiment that motivates Boko Haram is a northern elitist sentiment. It is the sentiment of domination expressed in that barbarity by a group of miscreants that have gone out of control of the elite, in quotes, to be able to control. And the elites of the north have suddenly realized that judging by the number of persons that are involved in this terrorist activity, if the law will take its course, as he has said, about the laws available, then they are going to be depleting their population. Therefore, they will be depleting the young population that they will need to fight against the South, to dominate the South if need be.
Who said there was going to be a fight between North and South in the first place?
There is already a terrible war going on. And I said that deliberately because I want the Southerners to wake up from their docility and slumber, to know that on a daily basis we are dying by installment, and the number of death and casualty is huge.
But then again, I'm sorry, I would have to interrupt you.
Yes.
There have been reports of how that even mosques are attacked in the north,
that's
in their own domain, where Islam is.
I've just said miscreants have taken over that ideology.
Okay.
And they have run out of everybody's control. You can create a Frankenstein monster, but are you able to control it? They created a Frankenstein monster, and now it's gone out of control. Let the law take its course. Everybody caught in terrorism should face justice.
Absolutely.
If we are to wipe out 1,000 terrorists a day, if you have their profile, then you will know that these are terrorists. There are laws in Nigeria on terrorism we didn't have, but we had to create laws. We had to pass laws in the National Assembly when terrorists emerge in our society. And so there are laws. The law should take its course. If you do proper profiling, you will know those to be rehabilitated. And it is not an agency of civilians and politicians that will do that. There are arms in the security forces, the military intelligence and so on, that are trained for such things. Okay. And therefore, you are taking them en masse. But those who have committed pogrom, and you are saying you want to rehabilitate them, then when do you ever do justice? When does crime ever get punished? But back to my point, I am saying that we're in a war. We are daily being killed every day in this country in different locations, and if you put the number together, it's huge. So if the Southerners are thinking that we are not in a war, we're in a war. If we have to kill those terrorists, we are going to be depleting the other army. And so that's why they are thinking of coming up with an agency to say that, first of all, they say Northeast Development Commission. What is that supposed to be doing? And then we are thinking of another agency. That's number one. Number two, the man talking is a politician. They are seeing what is happening in our NDDC. We cannot play the ostrich with our NDDC. The sleaze and the corruption and the terrible thing, and they've discovered that NDDC is being run by local politicians, that's southern politicians. Okay. So they are looking for a northern counterpart, where they will come in the name of an agency, and they will insist that derivation be paid to them, derivation to take care of Boko Haram, and then they'll be sharing it among themselves. If not, it serves no purpose. What are you rehabilitating? Do you have the capacity for rehabilitation? Because if you have the capacity for rehabilitation, you don't need to have created an agency before the people you've been arrested for the past 10 years, which you are recycling, before you would have rehabilitated some. Let them show us one Boko Haram that have been rehabilitated. Now, back to the point that should be the point of emphasis, and that's where you are going to be able to get the catch in the fraud that Gadam is suggesting. Why are we not, if you say it's empathy, why is your sentiment and empathy not with the victims? Okay. Why is your sentiment and empathy with the villain? We have victims in camps, we have women in camps, we have children in camps, they are being impregnated. In fact, Boko Haram come to those camps to attack those camps and kill them in camp. So why are we not thinking of more fortified, more permanent settlements for those victims? We have them at Ohodua here in Edo. The people in Ohodua that is being kept by Pastor Folorenshaw, the man who says he's helping to rehabilitate northern escapees from terrorist group. These people, the children there are all northerners. They have become a burden of the Edo economy, because whether you like it or not, it's the Edo taxpayers' money. When government donates, when politicians donate, when individuals go there to donate, it's our money, it's our economy. The strain is on our economy. So whether they attack more, they don't attack more, that's not the issue. The issue is you have found them and you have identified them by your own standards and by your own admittance that these are terrorists. What do you do with them? Now, why are we not thinking of setting up agency for armed robbers in the south? Kidnappers in the south, 419 in the south. What justification should we have to say that we are sentencing armed robbers to life imprisonment, or we are sentencing kidnappers to whatever imprisonment they will get? If you are setting up an agency to take care of a higher and world condemned crime, a crime against humanity, which is terrorism. So that Gadam's suggestion is ill-conceived.
Okay, let's take a look at the contributions coming through on the program this morning. Calvin Marcus from Benin, you're saying even soldiers who were injured in various hospitals where they were not paid their allowances for the past 4 months That's according to you. I wouldn't know whether you are a soldier, what facts you have, but you are obviously concerned about the welfare of those soldiers who have been injured on the front lines. Let's see another one from someone else here. Your name isn't here though. You say Nigerian government knows exactly what they're doing. Until the chiefs of army are replaced, Boko Haram will continue to operate. That has also been part of an integral part of the conversation, whether or not to sack service chiefs. The only remedy to a Nigerian problem is to separate. Don't be surprised, the Fulani herdsmen will take over the country one day. That's your opinion again. You say Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen are saying they have an agenda. You say it's to, okay, this is Christopher Elijah Muhammad from Ikboba Hill. Your text messaging come through completely. Mike from Ohoro says, God bless all. Please, if the government says they've repented, how many non-Boko Haram Fulanis were released, or the innocents and lesser offenders are in prisons? You said the blood of the dead cries every day. Only God can save us. I think that's the point that my discussants on the program this morning have also been making, that we should instead pay more attention to those who have been badly impacted, negatively impacted by Boko Haram. You say, can Nigeria fight Boko Haram genuinely? Julius from Benin is the one asking that question. One more before I turn to Cosmos. Good morning to you, sirs. My name is Bright from Lagos. The woman that feeds on kola nut lives in the kola nut. Okay, I guess you mean the worm. Yes, the worm that feeds on the kola nut lives on the kola nut. You say there are many Boko Haram members who serve, and then there are those who are also ex-military officers. There are so many governors, both present and past, that are both Boko Haram. Some senators are in the National Assembly representing Boko Haram members. Cosmos, let me take your mind back a little. I'm sure you remember clearly at the point where immediate past President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan had said that Boko Haram had infiltrated his government. When he said that, some persons had an issue with it. It became a controversial issue. Some said a proactive leader of a country wouldn't say that. Are we seeing elements of that playing out today?
For sure, for sure. You see, you know one thing, that's one man that I respect so much. Because there are so many statements he made that he did not, that were not politically motivated. He just said it the way it is. So many, like my brother did say, he said, Boko Haram is Boko Haram today because society governments have really not done much about it.
Okay.
We have also forgotten that when this man came up hard, somebody who is now the president of Nigeria made a statement that he is killing his people. Meanwhile, he was not from that place. So, like you said, politics is what has kept us, or brought us to the level we are now. Boko Haram members, Boko Haram apologists, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. Like I did say, I said, these Boko Haram people say Western education is evil. I said, that does not make sense to me. Even they themselves know it does not make sense to them. But there must be something to say, just like giving a dog a bad name to kill the dog. They know what they are doing. They know why they are doing what they are doing. And of course, the government knows why they are not looking elsewhere. What is in arresting these people? Niger arrested 10 Boko Haram members. Within a week, they were tried and executed. For 10 years, Nigerians will tell us one single Boko Haram member that has been executed. And somebody somewhere is doing, we tried to make a law, or they made a law on terrorism. I laugh. Why make a law on terrorism? When these people commit murder, there's a law of murder. When these people rob, there's a law of robbery and all that. And they all carry capital punishment. The terrorism law they made on terrorism, how many years did they say? You see, I laugh at these things. These people know exactly what they are doing. They know what they are benefiting. And they know their goal, their intent. That's why you see what is going on. Laws are being made every day to encourage these people. If you say you want to rehabilitate, the next thing they'll say, Niger Delta. They see great world of difference
between the amnesty program for Niger Delta militants
and what they are trying to say.
And now you check the repentant Boko Haram fighters.
You check these people. When they came up, Niger Delta, they said environmental degradation and all that.
Resource control too.
No, resource control was not even the issue of Niger Delta militants. It was the issue of oil spillage and all those things.
But at some point, some people say it was all about the Benjamins. I mean, about the money.
I'm saying how it started, the one I know.
Okay.
And then when Yar'Adua of blessed memory came up and said, no, take this, we'll begin to address your issues. They came on their own, dropped their weapons and surrendered. Till today, except when their issues some will come out. But that way they were doing them stopped. For how many years now? When Boko Haram started, I remember the then president came and said, what do you people want? They said all they want is you should leave that place as the president. Then it means that there's nothing you say, because they were making money from it. And then they had an agenda, they are following the agenda, they squared the agenda, succeeding. Like I did say, we have DSS. What are they doing, for crying aloud? Collecting money, salaries. You have a problem. Look at this man, Osama bin Laden. How was he executed? I mean, how was he killed? People sat down, planned, worked on it. These ones are not as sophisticated as those ones. Yet we have DSS, we have police intelligence, we have military intelligence, nothing.
But then again, it took about a decade to take
It took about a decade.
Yes.
Like I said, these ones are not even as sophisticated as one, because Osama bin Laden himself was trained by the Americans.
Okay.
These ones, they are not as sophisticated as that. Okay, now, it's a decade plus now. Which of them has the Nigerian military really arrested, prosecuted, and executed?
I'm going to push you a follow-up question to that. In the course of the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan, we also understand there were countries who had made, as it were, proposals to government to say, we want to come and want to lend a hand to these fights. What happened to all of that?
You see, like I did say, when Jonathan's government came up heavy on them, their respected leaders came out and said, you are killing our people. And the man, knowing the side he comes from, if he was from that region, he would say, no, I want to do what I want to do. Because I remember when Abubakar Karimi was governor of Kano State, he came out, he said he wants to create roads in the place they call city. Yeah, you know. He said, I will do it, I'm from this place. He did it, he opened up, because he was from there, they looked at it and said, well, he's part of us, he cannot really. But this man was not from that place. Though we are all Nigerians. He had to think twice. You get what I'm saying? So if other countries now come up and say, let us assist, what is the essence of assistance? Is it not coming up heavy on them? I don't know if that's why, but I want to think that he had to be careful. So that they don't say, you are killing our people. Not like, you know, they said. But those people who said that then, they are now in power. What have they done to stop it? You are saying you want to rehabilitate dead devil criminals. How? How do you know they are repented? I did a matter in Abuja. I brought out a suspect from an underground cell. The suspect came and said, Kai, he said that there were some Boko Haram people there. He said the way they were talking, the confidence at which they were talking. He said, no, there's more to it. So these are things we see all the time. What I know, what he knows, you might not know. What you know in your own area too, I might not know. You understand? So when we talk at times, we want to mild words. So there's more to it, like my brother said, there's so much to it. That's why people are not allowed to come. Knowing fully well those who will come, like someone was saying that they are coming for which business? When they are coming through the border on foot, come and get a visa, enter the country. There's more to it, my brother.
Let me talk to Patrick now. You are a lawyer, obviously, Patrick. Prosecution has been a bit of, in fact, a lot of persons believe it's a big problem. Prosecuting those who have been arrested as Boko Haram suspects or suspected insurgents. We hardly hear of cases of people who have been, of course, we've heard about several arrests. But in terms of successful prosecution, people being sentenced, people being jailed, of course, I already talked about how that many of these crimes are capital in nature, and as such, they naturally attract capital punishment as well. Why is prosecution so difficult?
Thank you. It's difficult because those prosecuting are not ready to prosecute. Simple. You won't blame the courts. I know that's why is the court not acting? The court will not. The court is there to hear your applications and entertain your exhibits and evidence as it stands. Whoever is prosecuting now, the government is solely responsible. When I mean the government, I'm talking about the executive now. Those the enforcement, the police, you know, all of that. They are there to come to court. So in a criminal prosecution, it's not what an individual does, except their fiats as it's recommended. But the position remains. How diligent have the government been
A government that is trying to set up an agency to keep them, will that government be diligent in prosecuting? No, when you are not diligently prosecuting a matter in court, it's thrown away because you can't waste the time of the court. And it's not it's not in the court to insist. You are the one that come to court. And there's this position of nolly prosecute. You could also stay up the matter a while and you could tell court you want to withdraw. And the court will not ask you. You have the right. The Attorney General of the Federation have the power to do that. So all of these hitches could also deter, is what we are evidencing. But the truth is, if you are talking of it doesn't take so long. We could create special courts. I remember saying something in Dubai some time ago, and then there's this young man who was alleged to have committed rape on a minor. In the space of 15 minutes, he was tried and he was executed. So it's not an issue of
within 15 minutes.
15 minutes, everything was settled. So if we're talking of special courts, we have the capacity, for crying out loud. It's not as if it's so. When you are trying to, you say, well, there's no vehicle to convey, a suspect to court, and the judge is sitting down waiting. Will the judge not say, okay, go on and use my vehicle in my house, go and bring the suspect to court? And then you say, well, the prosecutor is not in town. He has gone for another matter in a higher court, perhaps, maybe in a magistrate court, and the man is gone to the federal high court somewhere to go and give evidence. Okay, we take some adjournment. And these are some of the drama we see in court. So when that is the issue of the day, as serious as issues like the issue of Boko Haram and all these haters and miscreants, they shouldn't be taken lightly. But why is it being trivialized? That's why we say everything rises and falls on the government.
Let's take a few messages, and I'll push you just one more question, Patrick. Boko Haram, in my opinion, is run by corrupt northern, southern, and eastern politicians in Nigeria. Let's not tag it only to northerners. That's what you're saying, even though your name is not in your text message. Good morning. My name is Abiodun calling. Okay, you're contributing from Ekewan Road. You say it is not possible to rehabilitate insurgents when there is no ceasefire or peace agreement. You say, how will they fit into society that they have destroyed? That's something we need to wrap our heads around, I'm sure. My name is Martins from Uselu. All we need in Nigeria is God, so the pastor should wake in prayers. I would have thought we've been praying for a while now. Maybe we need to adopt a few other methods to be able to, as it were, surmount this challenge. The southern youths are busy killing themselves in the name of courtesy. They grow teeth to bite on their brothers in the name of inter-court clashes, while the northerners are invading the entire south, especially the south and southeast. You say our chiefs and political elites are silent for the selfish interest. We for south and southeast Onsobu deal. That's what you're saying in Igbo. That's from Ezelie in Benin. Let's be clear on something. The idea is not to take up arms. The goal is to find ways, result-oriented ways, to be able to win this war in real time and in real terms against these Boko Haram insurgents. We have to be clear on that. Before I take a few more contributions, Patrick, when you look at Nigeria today, you realize that many things are systemic. Corruption is systemic, for example. All of the rot, all of the, as it were, dysfunction that we see in health sector, in education, and other critical sectors, they are said to be systemic. Isn't Boko Haram also a system in itself, beyond whether it's northern agenda or southern agenda, for example?
Now, in as much as I agree with that to an extent, but the challenge is this. We have seen education falling apart, as it were, over here and things like that, because it's not being properly, attended to the way it should have been.
Okay.
Now, we cannot compare that with Boko Haram or these terrorist movements, so to speak. I believe in, I honestly understand, okay, just take a critical look at the Second World War. Let me go there a little. Okay. Adolf Hitler came up and he wanted to begin to annex territories and countries, and then he went ahead, he turned to the Jehovah's Witnesses and he took a whole lot of them, and other Christian faiths said, well, it's not dealing with us yet. And before long, he overran everywhere and 6 million Jews were killed. Now, what is happening today now is just like then. There was this appeasement policy that came up. you know, Britain and all, come on, you want to take access and okay, go ahead and take that one. Just, is that you want? He said, that's what I want. And then he kept on until the intervention of the United States in the person of Franklin Delano and the rest of it, and they helped out to ensure we push them back. And that's exactly what we are looking at. You can't compare terrorism to other, you know, issues in the country.
In terms of being systemic.
Systemic in terms of, this should take number one. It's just, without security, you don't have a country. Let's be very factual about this. Without adequate security, there is no country. That's lawlessness. That's the state of anarchy. Oh no, you can't expect somebody to kill another man, his family, and you expect the children to sit down quietly. Even in law, there was what we call self-defense. You know, it's an act of self-defense, man. You say, well, just keep calm, we are coming. You killed several communities. Agatu killing, you know, I think where this whole thing got messy was during the Agatu killing. You know, Nigerians were all crying on social media, talking like my big brother said here now, that we should not just sit down those sides, keeping calm and quiet. Doesn't change anything. You know, we see people, these are, now we talked about the fruits and basket of the nation. It's in Benue. And we saw these farmers being killed in their numbers. Communities destroyed by these herders, and nothing happened. Okay, how many from that time till now, how many have been prosecuted? How many have been jailed? They even just said jailed. They have not been. So we cannot begin to handle the way you are handling somebody common, what will you call it now? Somebody who is just into fraudsters and cyber crimes and all of that. In as much as we are very hard on them, we can't compare that to what these Boko Haram and these folks are doing around here. So if we now begin to put them side by side, then we don't know what we are doing. That's a misplacement of priority. Okay,
I think that was the point you essentially made earlier, which of course you're reiterating right now. Now back to you, Chris. There's the school of thought that this Boko Haram insurgency took a radical twist once they were able to find some affiliation with ISIS and West African province. There's some facts in that along that line.
Yes. Terrorism festers. It is left to a country how it deals with terrorism within its territorial integrity.
Okay.
And that is why Donald Trump is going to win the next election. You see, there are sentiments, there are idealists, there are abstractions. But when you come to governance, security, and protection of your people, you have to be pragmatic. The truth of the matter is that we tried to be sentimental, and we're talking abstraction, when we had a behemoth already ravaging, especially the southern population. It is only recently that they turned their tentacles against the northern population. So much so that they are even threatening our president, that if he visited Borno again, he could be attacked. Shekaru was threatening our president, that if he visited Borno again, he could be attacked. Because they were not caught, they got bolder. And then because they succeeded with all the impunities they committed, then the ISIS thought that we had a veritable structure already in place that we can link with to further our own cause. So that one came in. That one came in because ISIS had been in the public domain universally, and you are aware of it. There are many little groups funded by little warlords with certain agenda that are all operating in the country. That's what I was saying earlier. And that is why you cannot really define who they are attacking and who they are not attacking. Depending on the person who is their head or who is funding that group, he uses that particular group to carry out a personal agenda. It could be political, it could be religious, it could be whatever. But what I'm saying is that to be able to deal with all of this, you must deal with the original sentiments. Now, we don't want to be divisive and speak against other religion. But the truth of the matter is, there seems to be something about the Islamic religion that seem not to be able to understand that people who take up this terrorist agenda find accommodation in the so-called Quran commandments about either killing infidels or dipping the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean as an ideology of domination started by Madame Fodo. It is all of this that have grown up to become the Hydra-headed problem we have today. Now, the northern elite should sit down and be objective enough to know that this ideology, even if the more refined Muslims speak and condemn it, with the people who are carrying out this terrorist act, it is ingrained and inculcated. It is their own worldview. So the elite should sit down, the northern elite should be able to sit down to say, look, we have to arrest this ideology and we have to prove that that is not what the Quran teaches and that's not what the Quran commands. But when you find the leadership showing by acts of omission or commission through their body language, they seem to be fueling that ideology. And one of such instance is the issue of saying that you have arrested people who have committed a crime. Instead of the world to see that you are dealing with that crime, and so that you can send message to the people who are perpetrating this ideology that you do not support that crime, that you condemn it totally, that it's a crime against humanity, you are now the apostle. You are now the precursor of an argument that people who commit such crime should be given, in fact, VIP treatment. That is what we have in our hand. So, in fact, that such sentiment is allowed to fester and it is being supported by those who should be condemning it, is why you find many other terrorist groups in the world finding Nigeria, and that's why somebody quoted just now that terrorism just sits at home in Nigeria. They have just found their place in Nigeria because we have seen that right from the Matasina time. Somebody, was it Rushdie, he wrote a book, Satanic Verses, okay, and hundreds of Nigerians were being killed in Kano by some illiterate terrorists. What did anything happen? There was someone that happened in the Netherlands or in Denmark. Hundreds of Nigerians were being killed in the north. What happened? IML, the Zazaki's group, is funded from Iran. The whole world knows the history. And they are operating, they've been operating. Even the current president was seen in the past fraternizing with them. So that mentality is there, and it is the mentality that is fueling all this. And everywhere in the world where you have such mentality, they network. And so that you are finding that network, and that's why it's difficult for our soldiers to deal with. And that's why I was speaking about profiling and intel. It is not a war of carrying gun to the bush. You have to understand what you are dealing with. It's first intellectual, then you get intel, and then you know where to cut it off. Because it's a universal network of terrorists. And that is why when Suleiman was killed, it is the leaders of those networks in Nigeria that were trying to push a public outcry and motivate their people to creating a national disturbance because their leader, their universal leader, has been killed. So it is a network of terrorism, and you have different groups involved all over the world. And so you have local groups, for instance, like the Niger Delta thing that we spoke to earlier. We had some known faces who came out like Asari Dokubo and not Tompolo, that's a later convert. The other one that was arrested in Angola or South Africa, Mend, you know. Now, these were people who came out with visible agenda. And the agenda was that government will have to call your attention to the deprivation, to the environmental degradation that we are suffering in the Niger Delta. Lives are under threat here. In fact, lives are being lost here. Our economy has been destroyed here. And we are reaping the money from here. You are building houses in Abuja, and you have refused to take care. So they came out with that. When government did not listen, before you need, you have over 40 different groups calling themselves militants. It took the wisdom of Yar'Adua, as he said earlier, to know that, look, there is a grievance. Let's address the grievance. And so they address the grievance. When they address the grievance, those boys lay down their arms. What are the northern elites doing to address the ideology of Boko Haramism? It is no longer Boko Haram, it's Nigerian Haram. What happened in the data that I cited earlier is not an isolated case. What it tells you... They are all interconnected. Yeah, they are all interconnected. They do it now with impunity. Why were they carrying AK-47 to take care of their cattle? And after killing members of the community, they confiscated the dead bodies because they want to dehumanize them.
I need to take a few more contributions from those who are watching now and waiting in to contribute to this conversation we're having on the program this morning. Fred from Uselu is saying that suspected Fulani herdsmen invaded Odigi village yesterday. For the record, so Odigi is somewhere in Ovia, part of Edo State. That's what you're saying. Hopefully, we'll find out on the news later today. The best way to rehabilitate insurgents is to let the law take its course in this matter. That's Julius from Benin City. Sharia law is the only way out to end these terrorists. Saudi celebrated 20 years of no crime. That's what you're saying. You're recommending Sharia law. You also go further to say, law made by man is bound to fail. We call ourselves Muslims and Christians, yet we cannot govern our country with Sharia law. And then you go ahead to say, okay, well, Sharia law is indicated in the glorious Quran and the Bible. We're going to take more contributions via SMS this morning as we tied up on the program. But just remember that we're not taking calls. We're doing just the text messages by way of allowing you to contribute and lend your voice to this discussion this morning. Now, Cosmos, a lot of persons believe as of today that amongst other variables, 2 factors stand out as being responsible for getting Boko Haram to where it has come to today. They talk about poverty, extreme poverty, that is. They also talk about inhibited access to education. How much do those 2 factors affect or rub off on this reality?
So for poverty, with due respect, poverty is completely out of it.
Okay.
For a Boko Haram to strike, you need AK-47, you need explosives. These things are not cheap at all. So poverty is completely out of it. But if you talk of education, yes, I want to listen to that. Because from time, the northern elites have made sure that the poor ones have little or no access to education. That's why I discovered that while in the south, we're all running around going to school, there they don't do anything. As a matter of fact, they call their schools there Kashi Avenue. Kashi is this thing that you go to schools, they have schools, no encouragement. That's one area that I see there's really a problem. Okay. That's why you see they have Megida, Megad. There's no middle class. Megida is the big one, the rich man, and then the next to him is Megad. Okay. In the south here you have, down. Yes, in the south here you have middle class. Megiddo gives birth to Megiddo, while Megad gives birth to Megad. That's just a system. They have not sat down to really do something. You have the Almanjiris, you have the Dandokos. The Almanjiris, those ones who you see with plates begging, they graduate to become Dandokos. The Dandokos are the bigger ones, do menial jobs. It's just like that. It's a secular issue. So education really plays a role, because like I have always said here, education will enlighten your mind. Education will give you the enablement to ask the why question. There are 3 important questions a rational man should ask: why, when, and how. Here we ask, why should I do this thing? If someone comes to you now and say, go and kill this man, the first question you ask, why should I kill this man? If it makes sense to you, you say, when do I kill him? And how do I kill him? There's nothing like why at all. And the why question is motivated by your level of education. When do I kill him? How do I kill him? You understand? If they were well educated, I'm sure they begin to ask the very important question, the why question. So education, yes. Poverty, no. The Northerners are known to be hard working. They work hard. They sell their products. They've taken over our markets and all that. So money is there. Money is there. So education and poverty does not just play a role. They are rich. They are well-to-do. It is education that is the issue. If they can be well educated, when I say education, I mean good education. Okay, formal education, structured education. Just let me use the word good education. Good education. Okay. And that is what they are now saying we don't want at all. But you want to talk of good education?
Are they the ones saying that, or Boko Haram insurgents saying they don't want education?
Well, it's coming from that area. The Boko Haram is not an issue, is it not? That's why when Jonathan said, come heavy on them, they say you are killing our people. It's not an issue. Now they are coming down to the south. We don't have Boko Haram here. They are the ones that are bringing Boko Haram to attack us here. So it's not an issue. So if they had, even with all these issues, they are saying you want to rehabilitate criminals, dead devil criminals.
TMI, every opinion counts.
I just want to give Barrister Irabo 1 more minute just to tie it up on the point you were making.
Yeah, like I was saying, education is the major problem they are having there. Okay. And unfortunately, their elites are not doing anything about it. Maybe because of politics, so that whenever they have issues, these people can be, senseless in the, in their approach to it. Go and do this, they go and do it, and then they find themselves as ready, brigade, so to say, ready tools to be used to perpetuate their selfish interests.
Okay.
So based on that, nothing should be done educationally.
Okay.
It's very bad.
1 minute, Barrister Awosage, so tie it up.
Well, security is an issue of government.
Obviously.
Essentially, we say it's all encompassing in regards to we should be vigilant. We should give useful information to the authority as it were, but those that are in charge, so to speak, is a government issue. And if this useful information has been dispensed to the said appropriate quarters and decisive actions have not been taken, so what do you do? So that's the problem. So everything rises and falls on leadership, and it's the government in the sense that should take the bull by the horn, and they should stop playing politics with security.
The last word.
That is what
let me answer his question. Say, what do you do? I think we should stop pretending.
Okay.
Government is not going to do anything. People from the South must get a middle-class leadership that understand these things as realities and then begin to organize and come together to make forceful statements and define their own regional policies on these things and present it to the center. It's not necessarily taking up arms, but you can have a strong body that will draw up on international aids and connections and bring these things to the public domain of the world. What is going on in Nigeria is a program. The terrorist activities happening in the South, it has tacit support from the federal government by the very virtue that the federal government has done nothing, and the agencies of the federal government do nothing when these things are reported.
Are we saying they do nothing or they've not done much? They are two different issues.
They do nothing.
Okay, we're just going to...
We want to know, let them tell us in the past 1 month. In the past 1 month in the Edo Delta, there have been nothing less than 100 deaths from terrorist activities. Let the security agencies show us 5 people they have apprehended, who the villagers themselves and communities apprehended and handed over to them that they have in their custody.
That's already a clear indication that we're going to continue to have this conversation until this issue of insecurity across Nigeria as a whole is totally surmounted. I'd love to appreciate my 3 guests this morning for spending part of their morning with us here on TMI. Christopher Ojekere, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you spending part of your time with us as well. And then, of course, Patrick Awosage, thank you so much for coming.